Welcome to episode number 67 of the Awake with Jake show. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about healing the abandonment wound. Yes, I know, it's a scary one and something we've all dealt with, including myself, for a very long time. And just a quick little reminder for those of you who are interested in doing some in-person soul work with me, my next spiritual retreat is June 13th through the 17th in the Catskill Mountains in Woodstock, New York. So if you're interested in being a part of this experience, there is currently only 2 spots left available, and it will fill up soon. So if you're interested, go to jakewooder.com/coaching and fill out the application. It is a first come, first served basis, and I don't offer these events that often. So I'm really putting this together to bring together men and women from around the world to transform, to heal, and awaken. I want to talk today about the abandonment wound, because this is something so big in our culture, and I've been getting this question a lot. So this is a sign for me to do an episode about it, because this is something I personally have struggled with. And I always try to teach from my own wound. So I teach from my own experiences, and I believe that experiences are the best teachers. So growing up in a household where my dad was never really emotionally available, I constantly questioned my relationship with him and with myself, because I was seeking his love so much, but he was never really there. And maybe you can relate to this. Maybe it was your mother, maybe it was your father, step uncle, whoever. Realize that when someone's not there for you, you start to feel neglected. You start to feel abandoned. And they create this wound within inside of you that you're not enough. So you start to actually abandon yourself. And then you go on throughout your life and you get into relationships. And this is where it really starts to manifest hot and heavy, is you get into a relationship and you start dating some guy or girl and they're so unavailable. And this is exactly what happened with me. I would be in a relationship with a girl and we get in an argument and she'd be running out the door. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, why is this person running out the door right now? I'm like, we didn't even really get into any kind of fight. But it was because of my own vibration. I was attracting these people to me that were unavailable, emotionally unavailable, because I was still abandoning myself. Make that very clear. I was abandoning myself because of the wound that was created in my childhood from my father of never really being there emotionally, because he basically just taught me to suck it up and figure your own kind of stuff out. And that's really where it all began. So as I started in relationships, I started attracting these women to me that were totally unavailable emotionally, because they were reflections, internal reflections of me and the way I was feeling inside. So I actually have 4 different steps that you can take today to start healing these abandonment wounds. Step number 1, start acknowledging your shadows and stop avoiding them. By bringing them to the light, you start to release them, okay? So when you can start acknowledging your shadows, your wounds, and maybe it's not just abandonment, maybe there's neglect, resentment, anger, hatred, whoever or whatever that you've felt pain towards in your past, it begins with acknowledging your shadows. We are so conditioned and taught in our society to avoid discomfort, to avoid pain. One of the best things that I've learned throughout my spiritual and personal development is to be with my pain, to learn to sit with my pain, to work with my hurt, because I would much rather work through hurt than just avoid it and have it keep showing up different points in my life because I just avoided it and distracted myself. So I'm really inviting you lovingly to acknowledge your shadows instead of just disregarding them, because we all have shadows, right? Every single person on this planet has some type of shadows that they have worked through or are still working through or are just totally avoiding, right? And that's non-judgment. It's about working through your stuff. The purification process is working through your own karma. Okay. So first step is actually acknowledging, okay, yeah, I was abandoned as a child and I feel like shit now and I keep attracting these unavailable people. Well, that's the first step. Awareness is the key. Okay. Number 2, start healing your emotional child that has been abandoned. Give your inner child love and support that they need, that they never really got. So imagine yourself as an adult, like you probably are now, or maybe you're 20, 30, 40 years old, doesn't matter. Age is only a number and it's man-made. Soul is infinite. Realize that within you is this playful, beautiful, pure little child. And there's also a child within you that's sometimes wounded. And you can feel that child come out when you get triggered, because if you look at a person's responses to things, their actions more or less, they're acting from that child wound, that emotional child wound. So the best thing you can do is start to embrace your inner child, to love him or her by actually going within and talking to that little girl or little boy that was neglected, that was abandoned, and learning how to be your own mother, father energy. Okay? If you grew up in a totally conscious household and you never had any wounds or any shadows, that's amazing. But most of the population has grown up in a household that was at some point very toxic, very volatile, maybe not even to any extreme, but there was still some type of programming, some type of conditioning that was laid upon you, that was fear-based and programmed you to feel pain, to feel neglect, to feel fear. Okay? So by loving that little child that never got that love and support and learning how to do it yourself, becoming your own mother, father energy, you start to balance out your hurt and release the hurt, if that makes sense. Hopefully this is clear for you. Number 3, give yourself permission to feel again. Become aware of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. If you can feel it, you can heal it. Let me say that again. If you can feel it, you can heal it. What we don't know will hurt us, because if there was a knife in your leg right now and you didn't know it was there and you're just walking around with it every single day, everywhere you go, it's going to cause you pain, okay? But with awareness, you can gently start to pull that knife out and begin to heal that wound, that abandonment wound, a neglect wound, resentment, whatever type of wounds you have. With awareness, you can start to weaken the structure of those wounds. But once again, we're taught not to be vulnerable, not to feel our feelings, to not be emotional, not to express ourselves when we feel down or when we feel pain, because this makes you look weak. That's what our society has taught you to believe, that showing emotion makes you weak. Don't feel your feelings, because if you feel your feelings, you actually start to feel your intuition. But our society doesn't want you to know about your intuition or your higher self that is always guiding you, always loving you, always protecting you, always there for you, but you just have to tune into it. And when you start to tune into that vibration, that energy that's always there for you, trying to pour through you and guide you, man, everything starts to shift. So many people are confusing anxiety with signs from their higher self. Okay, they're getting these sensations in their body, maybe in the solar plexus region, when they're in the wrong relationship, at the wrong job, and their higher self trying to communicate to them. And the higher self is saying, hey, ding, ding, ding. You got a red flag here. Tune into that. Learn to develop a sense of body awareness. That is a powerful skill to have. If you start feeling these really powerful sensations in your body, listen to it. And it works just the opposite way too, because you also start to developing good feelings as well. It's not just all about negativity. It's about also cultivating love within your heart and in your body, and you start to feel new sensations. Foods start to taste better. You start to see colors more vibrantly. That's the awakening process. That's when you're really in alignment with your higher self, and you start to feel the vibrations of the universe, of God, or whatever you want to call it, flowing through you at all times. You're just open. You're wide open. You're a vessel for love to just flow through you, to be a conduit of love and light. Number 4, pay attention to patterns in your life. Are you attracting unavailable partners? Are you abandoning yourself? Like I was talking about earlier, the pattern for me was actually attracting women into my life that were abandoning me because I was just abandoning myself, and they were internal reflections of what I was feeling inside. So because my dad was never there and I never got the love and the validation from him, I always craved it. I'm telling you, I would do everything I could just to see him smile and say, I'm proud of you or I love you. I never got those words. But I learned I didn't need his validation from him anymore. I was already loving and validating myself. And you have the same ability to do that. So a little mantra that you can take away from this, if you're starting to feel down on yourself and you're feeling really neglected or you're not getting the love that you deserve from your partner or at work or from your parents, whoever, repeat the words to yourself. I am already loved and validated. I am already whole and complete. Nothing outside of me can complete me. You have to feel whole and complete within. And when you start to feel that, everything shifts for you. Everything begins to shift for you when you start to feel whole and complete from within. You start to illuminate this beautiful, radiant light outwardly. And then people around you start noticing it. They're like, hey, what's been going on? Your skin's starting to glow. Why are you always smiling? Why are you happy? Like, what's going on? You're not supposed to be like this. And that's when everything opens up in your life. Financial abundance starts pouring in. Your health, your body starts to get better. The relationships you have start becoming healthy relationships, and they're not just drinking on the weekends with my friends relationships or toxic partners or one-night stands, whatever. You start having self-respect. You start gaining self-worth. You start deserving abundance and accepting the abundance that's coming to you. Everything begins to shift when you just make these small, little, subtle shifts. I can tell you from my own personal experience that everything I'm telling you is possible because I've done every single thing that I tell you from my own experience. I wouldn't tell you these things if I hadn't embodied it myself. Because if I hadn't done it, I can't teach it. And that's just what I truly believe. The best teachers in the world don't teach from a book. They teach from their life experiences. That is wisdom. That is mentorship. So, thank you so much for being a part of this episode with me and being a part of my journey, supporting me on Instagram, my posts, my consistent content. I really appreciate you being there with me. The amount of support and messages that I receive every single day is just amazing, and I'm so grateful for it.